Yo, welcome back guys. If you want deep singing knowledge that you'll get nowhere else, please subscribe, and if you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up. So I made a video was gonna go up today, and I realised it was only really a video that was useful to probably a tiny percentage of people watching my content, and generally it would have been interesting for other coaches. And I thought, why do I need to put this up? What can I put up that is useful for beginners? And here we are. So I wanted to talk about the number one thing that I see that beginners struggle with, that beginners miss, that beginners don't quite get, and just cover it. And that will be this video. I realise I'm talking a little bit more quietly than normal. It's late at night and people are trying to sleep, so I don't want to get too loud. Hopefully you can hear me. So the number one thing that beginners miss, this isn't necessarily what you're going to expect in a sense. Often I talk about squeeze and compression and all that stuff. Many of my videos recently have been covering that. Different amounts of arytenoid squeeze, different amounts of closure, however you want to describe it. Also, obviously, people, jump towards pitch, matching pitch, singing in tune, or vocal power or vocal range. All of these things have a place. But I would say, judged on my experience, which is watching tens of thousands of singers most likely over many years, and I say that honestly. Been to many open mics over the years. Most of those evenings I'll see at least 10 to 20 singers, and so I've got a very broad experience of just looking at different types of singers at all different skill levels. Most people don't have this experience. They are used to watching great singers all the time. That's something at open mics that you don't get. You get some good, some great, some average, some not so good, some at the very beginning. What is it then that the struggling singer, the beginner, misses or can't quite get more so than anything else? I would say it's a sense of freedom in the voice, a sense of spin, a sense of float, a sense of simplicity. But this idea of vocal freedom, or it kind of just pouring out of somebody, there's nothing impeding the flow of sound. How does a singer understand this? How does a singer cultivate this? What is it to sing with freedom? What is it to sing with a sense of spin, or a sense of it just pouring out of you? Universally, great singers have this quality. There's a certain sense of there's nothing in the way of the sound. And struggling singers have the opposite. There's a sense of something's in the way, it's just not quite right. What is it? So let's just break it down to something very simple. The sense of freedom comes from your ability to stretch out your vocal cords just the right amount for a particular pitch and remain consistent with that ability. And it's a skill. Let's just click over to this video very briefly. It's just 5-10 seconds just to show you something. And let's just play this. You just look at this cricothyroid muscle. Look at the action. Yeah? You see it in a bird's eye view in a sec, I think, or it'll open up, one or the other. There we go. Okay, you see the vocal cords, this is from the side, and you see the cricothyroid tilt. So when these muscles engage, you notice the vocal cords stretch. They stretch. Yeah? This is let's just come back to me. this is the mechanism of freedom. This is the mechanism of release. This is the mechanism of tilt. This is the mechanism of singing high without reaching. This is the mechanism to avoid pulling chest voice. This is the mechanism to avoid yelling. However you want to describe it, this little thing that we've just seen, this little action of the larynx, is really the understanding this mechanism, understanding this action, is really going to be the thing that will separate you from a beginner and lead you towards more of an advanced singer. Now, when I say understanding, obviously I don't mean you need to study videos like this and understand exactly how the mechanism is working. Typically singers don't learn in this way. I just wanted to show you that to demonstrate there is a real biomechanical action behind the process that I'm talking about, the process of release, the process of singing with freedom. The way people learn this is through it's a kind of intuitive sense. It's a kind of subtle art. And the way that they learn it is they start to distinguish between sounds that kind of float and are free and released, and sounds that aren't. And they use this sense to gradually filter out sounds towards everything being loose and free and tilted and released. They head towards a sense of balance in their singing. It's never pushed, it's never yelled, it's never strained through. It's always got that sense of spin or that sense of float. This mechanism that stretches out your vocal cords gets you higher without the reach, without the yell. Now, there are various exercises you can do to feel this mechanism. People sometimes talk about the sense of yawning. If you go, you can hear it there. That is the cricothyroid tilt you're hearing. Doesn't necessarily sound pretty, doesn't necessarily sound like much of anything, but that's the mechanism. You can think of it as a yawn, and you go, yeah. There's obviously other exercises. You could do things like a things like that to work on that tilting mechanism. Some people refer to it as pressing in. Some people refer to it as release. Yeah, whatever terminology you're using, whatever however way you want to describe it, we're trying to get a singer to develop a relationship with this sense of freedom versus this sense of a lack of freedom, or something's kind of in the way. And like I said, it's a subtle art. It's very difficult to get across to somebody, right, exactly what are you doing there? And just to say, right, X, Y, Z, go. Because even if they can get a little bit of freedom, which often singers can at first, what we'll find is on certain vowels, that tilt won't quite go to the right spot. So they'll yell it. They'll have a ooh, ooh, and they'll drop out the mouth. When they open the mouth, the sound will tend to drop out. They won't have the right amount of release on different types of sounds. Other singers seem to get it. They seem to understand that before all of the articulation, there's something deeper. There's something more fundamental going on. When I talk about the arytenoid action, closure, squeeze, that type of action, this is one of the basic fundamental building blocks of your voice. The other real fundamental building block of a good voice is a relationship with the cricothyroid action, a relationship with the sense of release, the sense of balance, the sense of freedom, and developing that relationship and that art enough that or whatever you articulate, whatever you're kind of doing, there's always a sense of looseness or freedom or spin in the sound. If you can, broadly speaking, 95% of the time have a sense of freedom in your singing, people are just going to latch onto it. Doesn't matter what style you're doing, doesn't matter what, if you're singing in a new type of way, or you're singing in a very traditional way, or a very dynamic style, or a more kind of down-to-earth poppy style, or whatever it is. If you've got a universal sense of balance and freedom and kind of looseness in the sound, people are going to be drawn to it. If you've got a more of a sense of push and a kind of harshness to what you're doing, like something's in the way of the sound, that's what people don't latch onto. That's what people switch off from, and they're like, man, what we're doing after this? I'm bored. They don't connect with it. And this is a game of percentages for learning singers. It's not something that, as a struggling singer, you're just going to immediately be able to sing with freedom across everything you do. It doesn't really work like that. It'd be a sense of something you do has that kind of loose feeling. And, right, can I latch on to that? Now, can I take that loose feeling and put it into another sound and another sound? Maybe combine a few different vowels and see, can I keep it nice and free? This doesn't need to be singing high. This doesn't need to be singing with any power. Many great singers don't have much power, don't have much range, but they earn a good living doing it. I've spoken about many of these singers in the past because they spin, they float, they're balanced, they sing with freedom. Yeah. They've developed that relationship. They understand that before singing really powerfully, before singing, really high, before, really anything else, they've understood that the really number one thing is it's got to be free. It's got to be loose. It's got to be open. Yeah. This is really the beginner's paradox in a sense. Is once they get into some of this video content that you find on the internet regarding singing, they go down all these rabbit holes of, I need to sing high, I need to sing with power, I need to sing powerfully, and there's just not enough discussion about, hey man, none of that matters that much. Actually, you just got to sound good, and the main ingredient of sounding good is just for it to be free most of the time. If it's spinning, it's free, it's balanced, it's loose, people are just they can't help but get drawn in. They can't help it. Even if they don't like your style of music, even if they find you irritating as a person, they can't help but get drawn in. If it's free, if it's loose, if there's nothing in the way of the communication between you and them, they can't help but get drawn in. And this little action that I've shown you today and kind of demonstrated, I showed you a little bit of video, this is really the backbone of that. This is really the crux of what is going to lead you towards a sense of even developing this, is a sense of understanding what are we trying to get at. We've got to find a way to sing free. As I go up in pitch, I can't. I've got to. I've got to tilt up there. I've got to yawn up there. I've got to press in up there. Then it's free. It's loose. It's open. It's singing. I'll leave you with that, guys. Have a great day. Yeah. Take care. Bye.